Welcome back, Fiat fans. So my X19 here has had an exhaust leak pretty much ever since I had it. And it's just gotten worse and worse. And I've tried tightening up a few things here and there, but ultimately I found this right here. Yeah, the exhaust gasket has just blown out the side because of this broken exhaust manifold stud. Now we got to get in there and replace this stud. But it's not all bad news. Check this out. I'll get this sweet stainless header and fully stainless exhaust that I'm going to replace all the stock stuff with. So that's going to be fun to install. But before I can get to this goodness, I have to take off all this old stuff first. And what's kind of annoying is that the intake manifold has to come off before I can even get to the exhaust manifold. They share a same plane and share the same gaskets. All right, well, let's get to it.
So I start by taking off the cold start injector and some of the hoses, the intake hose. Grab this rag to catch any fuel that spills out, taking out the fuel line from the cold start injector. And this thing was really stuck on there. Had to give it a good yank to get it off. Now I'm just removing these brackets that hold the fuel rail stuff on, and removing the throttle cable. Taking a look at where the studs are at. Giving a little shot of PB blaster to loosen them up. It's kind of hard to get down in there with a ratchet. It's very awkward. You have to go in through the trunk access panel, and even then, it's not a whole lot of room. Have to remove the alternator vent hose to get to the passenger side stud, and have to use the magnetic wand to keep from dropping the nuts.
Alright, let's see how useful this little finger ratchet thing is. You notice this bolt right down in here? That's what I'm trying to get. Not a whole lot of room to work with. I was already able to loosen it with a ratchet. All right, I got it on there. I know you can't see it because my hands are in the way, but man, that thing's working. It's cool. Thanks, Ruben.
So now with those done, we can take off the upper half of the intake manifold. Now I'm not sure, but I think this air hose thingy is not really in the correct position. Could be part of my heat soaking issues. Now I need to take off the fuel line from the pressure regulator and the line feeding the injector rail. It was really stuck on there. Now I'm using a dental pick to gently disengage the clips on the fuel injector connectors. These connectors are really old and kind of brittle, so you gotta be careful with them.
All right, before I get too much more involved taking the intake off, I want to get the exhaust down here off. And I've already got a head start. I took the rear valance off, and I also have the access port in here opened up. So I'm going to take off the exhaust at the manifold here, and then I should be able to pull the rest of this crap down.
Have to get the bolts at the manifold from underneath the car with the long extension, and then take the exhaust support bracket off. This isn't used on the VIX Performance muffler. Then you gotta take the little springs off. These things are a pain in the rear, but this little T-handle thing I have makes it pretty handy. I'll drop a link to it in the description below. I found the exhaust was hanging up on this heat shield thingy, so I just went ahead and took it out. The air compressor lines were also in the way, so I just went ahead and disconnected them too. The VIX header isn't compatible with the air conditioning, so it's gotta come out either way, and the air conditioner didn't work anyway, so, you know, whatever. And out she comes. The bottom bolts on the AC compressor came out pretty easily, very straightforward. The top bolts were a little bit more difficult. For some reason I found the offset wrench to work the best on them. Don't really know why. The bolt on the top back was very straightforward too. After wiggling this thing around for a bit, I realized that the only way I was really going to be able to get this thing out was by loosening up the brackets so that the brackets could tilt down. And then finally the freaking thing came out. And then of course I just went ahead and removed the brackets too. Now I'm going after the actual manifold studs, and as you can see, they're really rusted. I used a combination of my hot rod induction heater and a torch to heat them up before trying to remove them, trying to prevent any more from snapping off. Now that induction heater is pretty cool. I did another video on it, you can go find that on my channel. It obviously costs a lot more than just a torch, but I find it pretty handy. Finally, with the shared manifold studs removed, I can take off the lower intake manifold, and the fuel rail comes with it. Now all that's left is this center stud, and again I'm heating it up with the induction heater, and it actually comes out pretty easy after that. Spoke a little too soon. The passenger side stud still remains, and as you can see, the induction heater comes in pretty handy heating this thing up because I can angle the coil on it. The manifold is rusted stuck, but some love taps loosen it right up. You can see how nasty the old gasket material is. Throughout this whole process, I vacuum everything very vigorously to make sure no schmoo gets down in the ports.
All right, now that I have everything out of the way finally, it's time to get in here and try to get that old broken stud out. All right, the first thing I'm going to do is center punch the thing, and I'm going in from inside the trunk. I think that might be the best way to do this. I don't know. Here we go. All right, so I've got a left-hand drill bit chucked into my little angle head drill here, and it is awkward to get it down in here for sure. But the idea behind the left-handed drill bit is that as you're drilling, you're potentially loosening the screw or loosening the stud. All right, here goes. Should probably check progress on that.
I carefully keep moving up in bit size, vacuuming out the chips along the way, and giving a little squirt of oil too.
All right, so I drilled it out to the appropriate size of ease out according to the ease out instructions. And all that's left to do is try and wish me luck, okay? You have to be kind of delicate with these things, because if you snap off the ease out, you are boned. Man, I know the ease out's easing in there, but that stud's not coming out yet. Making me nervous. It's locked in there pretty good. I wonder if I should back it out and apply some heat. All right, let's try this again. Oh, she's good and stuck, that's for sure. All right, so I think I'm gonna have to step up to the next size ease out here. And that means I'm gonna have to step up to the next size drill bit too. Now, hopefully I have enough meat around the edge of the hole there to drill out the next size up without getting into the threads of the head. We're gonna find out. Wish me luck. All right, now let's see what she do. I can feel it bottoming out now. God bless, it's not budging it. Well, that little broken bastard is really stuck in there. Damn, I just don't think this bolt extractor is gonna work. All right, well, since the ease out isn't gonna work, I got another crazy idea. I have a brass tube here that's just the right size to fit down in the hole, and I'm threading it. So hopefully you can catch the little bit of threads that are available inside the hole. And then I'm going to use that tube as a guide to drill out the hole and retap it. So let's see if that's even going to work. All right, now let's see if this little threaded tube I made is going to work. You know, the threads in this hole here are kind of buggered up already. So I don't know if this is going to actually hold or not, but it seems to be working pretty good. And I'm going to use this nut here to jam up against the head and hold it flush. Well, it turns out there's just not enough threads in that hole to actually hold this little tube. So, well, I guess I'm just gonna have to hope that the original hole that I drilled is centered, because there ain't nothing left to do but just to drill it out. But I think this was actually a pretty neat idea, and hope one of you guys try it sometime and let me know how it actually goes. I'm gonna keep going up in size with my reverse drill bits, because you never know, I might finally catch and pull that thing out. All right, that was the last of the reverse drill bits, so now we're just gonna go for it with the tap drill. All right, now we find out if we're even gonna be able to tap this. And of course, the tap wrench doesn't exactly fit in here, so that's gonna be a problem. This is not ideal. Don't try this at home, kids. Well, I think this is working. Well, it feels that's kind of about as far as I can go. Let me back this thing out and see. I have one of the old studs here, so I'm gonna test fit that and see what happens. I'm not quite happy with how deep the threads go, so I switched to a different tap. This one is a little bit more of a flat bottom to the other one, and it actually fits in this little small tap wrench, so hopefully this thing works out pretty good. Yeah, I think I already got it a little deeper than the other tap. Those taper taps are good for through holes or, you know, getting things started, but you really need a plug tap to get all the way to the bottom of your hole. Hopefully this will work out much better. And I'll leave a link in the description below for all the taps and tools and whatnot I'm using, in case you want to pick them up for yourself. All right, so I've already got the new stud in its hole, and it seems to be pretty darn sturdy, so hopefully this is gonna hold out. And I'm putting the new studs in the other holes as well. And where do you get brand new studs for a Fiat X19, you might ask? Well, from bookautoworks.com, of course.
I've got a complete set ready for you to order, including some extra thick washers and locking copper nuts. Now on these new studs, I'm putting just a little bit of anti-seize on it. Now the easiest way to get these studs all the way into their home is to take two nuts and just jam them together. And then that way you can easily tighten the stud up. Now don't go crazy tightening these things. They only require about 18 foot-pounds, and that's on the nut side. When you're putting the studs in, you basically just want to make sure the studs seat all the way into the head. Once it's all the way home, all you gotta do is loosen your nuts and back them off out of there. Now I've replaced most of the studs since they came out as I was removing the old ones. But this sucker right here, I'm a little afraid to try to remove because it looks pretty rusty in there, so I think I'm just gonna leave it and see what happens. But the only thing there is to it is to try to put everything back together now. Alright, so this video is getting to be a little bit too long, so I'm gonna go ahead and cut it off now. This is a good stopping point after repairing the studs. But coming up next, you can watch me do a horrible job wrapping the header and struggling on how to actually get the stupid header into the engine bay. So be sure you're subscribed so you don't miss all the fun. See you guys next time.